Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Selectmen's meeting. It is October 18th, 2016 at 6 p.m. If we could all rise and please pledge our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll do a quick review of the agenda. We have 4 sets of meeting minutes to approve. We have the town clerk coming in as an invited guest on the 3.1 to talk about early voting. We have we're fortunate enough to have the library trustees with us this evening to talk with respect to an election on the board. We have a capital budget presentation by the Public Works. I will actually move the recognition portion of this up after we approve the meeting minutes, so I'm going to take that out of order. We have the manager's report, discussion items. We have the presidential primary warrant. We have discussions on the water shutoff policy. We have we have multiple sign requests under 6.3. We will again discuss the special town meeting warrant. We'll discuss the future of health insurance with respect to changes with the town possibly, or again up for discussion. We have a resignation and a couple resignations and an appointment to make, and then we have a request for some funds out of the trust funds. Under new business, I think we have 1 or 2 items. We have 2 items on the new business with respect to possible dog hearing and a date to sign the warrant for next week. And then we'll go into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, to discuss the reputation of in complaints against public officers and employees. We will come out of executive session for the only reason of adjournment out of open session. Have I missed anything?
No, sir.
Seeing none. Meeting minutes, please.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the regular minutes from 10-4 as written.
Second that motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the executive session minutes from 10-4 as written.
Second that motion. I'm sorry, I was...
Please show that as unanimous action of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the regular minutes from 10-11 as written.
Second that motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board.
And Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the executive session from 10-11 as written.
Second that motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board. Under recognition, I know Selectman Fleming has something that he would like to bring up, and then I have a couple of issues under recognition, so I will take out of order recognition and move it up now. Mr. Selectman Fleming, please.
For those in the audience, Diane is wondering why she's here. And I think these are one of the pleasurable things we do. We receive the correspondence, and, you know, a lot of towns get labeled because not everybody loves code enforcement. Sometimes there are obstacles to the construction. But we received a letter that deems being read, and I think it goes to show what an employee can do to represent the citizens of a town. This reads, Dear Town Manager, my name is Tim Hoy. I have been an Upton resident since 1999, residing at forget the address. The reason for this letter is to inform you of the exceptional treatment I received from 2 members of your staff, namely Diane Judd and John Poria. I had an issue with National Grid, who had cut my service and refused to resume it without a town inspection. That is how I met Diane Judd, who was friendly, efficient, understanding, and tenacious when she thought National Grid was not properly servicing an Upton resident. She sent out John Poria, who inspected the meter and talked to National Grid while he was still there. They informed him they still wouldn't be out to my house for 3 to 7 days. I then went back to Diane, who gave me the number to reach my state rep, and she also placed a call to his office herself. I talked to a gentleman, a representative of National Grid, and who called on my behalf. No one stayed on National Grid as much as Diane Judd, and with her and John's help, my power was restored. Once again, I want to acknowledge their services to you and also thank them for all they did for me in appreciation. And that is an example, Diane, you should be proud, because that's an example of somebody that takes the extra steps for a citizen, and that's what makes a community good. So you need to be like We certainly can't forget John. John Poirier went out there on the call and stood by the gentleman to assist while National Grid was there, and he deserves recognition too. But thank you, John. So anytime you have any problems at home, you call code enforcement, and Diane will be glad to help you. But Diane, thanks a lot on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Diane.
Much accolades.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask if the board could, through the town manager, respond to this resident and thank him for the letter.
Yes.
To follow up.
Thank you for having page 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. You know that.
Thank you.
Thanks. And the reason we brought her in, her hours end at 6 o'clock, so we wanted to
Just a
get her.
couple other things under recognition, if I may. Number one, I would like to wish my fellow board member, Selectman Fleming, a happy birthday. I forgot if it was tomorrow or if it was last week. I think it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. He's going to be 54 years old. But no, I want to sincerely
Just got
wish him.
my license.
I want to sincerely wish him a happy birthday and wish him well. And
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I also want to, on a personal note, I want to wish my father a happy 93rd birthday. It was his birthday last week on October 12th, so I want to wish Dad a happy birthday, happy 93rd birthday. So thank you for that. Okay. The town clerk is here. There she is, please. Under item 3.1, town clerk. Madam Town Clerk.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me tonight. First of all, I believe you, and I think you might be doing it later in your agenda, but to execute the warrant for the presidential election.
Yes.
So, but the major reason why I'm here tonight is to talk about early voting. I'm hoping that most, you are aware, and most residents are aware that there was a state law passed where we will be offering early voting here at the town hall 10 days before the election on November 8th. So from October 24th to November 4th, during my regular business hours that first week, any registered voter can come into the town hall. We're going back to pre-2004, and we'll be setting up a polling location in the main hall of the town hall. There'll be voting booths with a check-in table, and any registered voter can come in, check in. They will get a ballot and an envelope. They can vote the ballot, sign the envelope, place the ballot in the envelope, and seal it. And then those ballots will be secured until Election Day. And on Election Day, we will be checking off the voters as if they were present on Election Day, opening up those envelopes and processing them through the machine to be counted. And in order for the convenience for the registered voters here in Upton, we have chosen to open up on Saturday, October 29th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., so anyone can come in on that Saturday to vote. As well as the following week, it will be 8 to 4 on Monday, 8 to 8 on Tuesday the 1st, 8 to 4 on Wednesday, again 8 to 8 on Thursday, and on Friday, 8 to 4. So, and also on Monday, Halloween, we will be going to the senior center from 10 to 12, so any of the seniors can go to the senior center and do some early voting. So I just wanted, thank you for the time to let people know that this is available to them and to take advantage of it, because we want to make it as easy as possible for people to vote in the upcoming election.
Thank you for your dedication and commitment
my
to
pleasure.
everybody in this town for their true right to vote.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Exactly. And if anybody has any questions, they can reach me at the town hall, at my phone number and or the website. The hours I just read are on the website. And on that note, tomorrow is the deadline to register to vote. So if anybody's listening out there and you're not sure if you're registered to vote, tomorrow's the deadline. Please check with me, because you don't want to miss that deadline and not be eligible to vote. And we will be open till 8 p.m. tomorrow night for voter registration.
Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
No, sir.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3.2, with the resignation of a recent member of the Board of Library Trustees, there is a vacancy within that board. With that said, we have the members of the library trustees with us here to discuss a possible candidate in a joint election with respect to that individual. So, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, we've opened the
are officially
trustees meeting earlier.
Okay.
And we have a quorum present, so we can do business.
Okay, so with that said, Mr. Chairman, since there is a vacancy, I'll officially open up nominations with respect to candidates for the library trustees position.
The library trustees have discussed it and approved the nomination of William, better known as Bill Taylor, for the vacant position.
Second that motion.
Okay, so there was a motion, there was a nomination and a second for Mr. Bill Taylor. Is there any other nominations? Seeing none, hearing none, I close nominations for a member of the Board of Library Trustees. So I would ask for a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, well, it's a vote.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I would extend my vote to Bill Taylor as a member of the library trustees.
Selectman Fleming says aye. Jim Brochu says aye.
Gary Doherty, aye.
I say aye.
Aye. Could you state your names?
Please state your names.
Lori Woden. Katie Kelly. Fran Castro. Judith Katz. Cleo Campbell.
Okay. So please show that as a unanimous vote, and congratulations, Bill, and thank you again for your commitment on one of many committees and boards that you sit on. I think I've lost track of as far as how many Bill sits on, but his commitment should be commended.
Let me just say a word about Bill. Bill has really carried a load. He was chairman of the feasibility committee, and he was a hard worker. I've never seen anybody that worked as hard as Bill. I wish he was here tonight. And he was president at our meeting, and I asked him if he really wanted to be a library trustee. And because his term goes till next May,
Yes.
so he'll have to be reelected. He said I guess he had the fire in his belly because he said he really wanted, and his intent is to run next May. So we're very happy with Bill.
I truly thank Bill for his commitment on many boards and his willingness to step forward with this. So thank you, Bill, very much. So our mission is done. So thank you, ladies and
Do
gentlemen.
I hear a motion to adjourn the library trustees meeting?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain? So voted.
Thank you, trustees.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much.
So you run the tight meeting.
Okay. Item 3.3, under discussion items. Capital budget presentation. Public Works. We have the DPW director with us, I see. Hi, Vinny.
We are ready. I've got the highway superintendent with us as well. How you doing?
Move up.
All right, first off, I just wanted to state, there were a couple of last-minute changes just before you guys got it, so there were some spelling errors, which you guys probably picked up, so my apologies. But
Spelling errors we can take, numerical errors we can't.
the math, I thought that was right on, so anyways. All right, so going in order, you want me to start, or?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Just tell us what page you're working off of. And again, understand that we have probably everything that's in front of you, so just, you know, that we're all on the same page. So just let us know which page you're working off of. or which
Okay, so I'm going to start out with the cemetery. I don't know if these pages are numbered.
tab. Okay.
Cemetery GIS, and
Go to the spreadsheet.
I've got my pages in the exact order that you guys have.
Use this
John has that, yeah.
spreadsheet?
Mine goes in that order.
Okay.
So we're good. So, All right, so the first one is the cemetery, where what we're looking to do is we're looking to fund a GIS mapping system down there. One of the things that I've discovered since I've been here, John can elaborate a little bit more on it than I have. We've got some difficulty finding graves down here, especially in the wintertime. A couple of years ago, the first winter that I applied for the job here, we had a lot of snow, and these guys had a heck of a time down there locating graves. And then we had an issue just this past summer with one of the police officers in town, one of his relatives. And so one of the things that we want to do is, well, the first part of this project will be to look at all the information that we have, gather all the information, and figure out what we don't have, and go back and kind of fill in the blanks. Once we've got all that together, what we want to do is actually make this all available on a website. So put it together on a GIS-type map system. It's going to be useful for two ways. It's going to be useful. It's going to be useful for us here in Public Works in order to dig graves. And then the other thing is it'd be very useful for the public, the general public, not even residents here in town, but anybody looking to locate a grave for a loved one. So.
I think this is, and again, if I could just interrupt you for a minute, I think that this is very, very, very important. I know I was involved with the individual this past summer or this past year with respect to it. And I think, it wasn't a problem down there when we had, plenty of room, Lakeview, but we're, unfortunately, it's filling up. And there's only a few spots left, so we have to be, again, in all fairness to families, especially in their true time of, that they're in with respect to being there, we can't, let this be an issue with respect to, locating plots. So I commend you and I applaud moving forward and totally recommend moving forward with this GIS mapping.
I concur.
Okay.
This is a no-brainer.
Okay.
Simply put.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, we've got a couple of requests here for the cemetery. The next one we have is Jim just alluded to. We don't have a lot of space there. We're estimating, based on the number of burials that we do per year, got anywhere between 5 and 8 years left, and we're going to run out of real estate over there. So the second CIP that we have is actually for the purchase of some land here in town to expand the cemetery. So part of this is going to be 10% of this $300,000 appropriation, and this is for year 2023 too. This is not in the FY18 budget, but it's within the 5-year CIP. The other thing that we talked about was 10% of this funding request is going to be used for doing an assessment, evaluation of the suitability for the land to make sure that we're not going to be in a water table or there's going to be ledge, and so that it's useful for what we're looking to do with it.
No, again, an unfortunate necessity.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to recommend we will be posting our next executive session to discuss a potential contractual for land, and I think you should be there. This is the very beginning of the process. We've done nothing, but we do have an opportunity, and we will be discussing. We will be posting executive at our next meeting. We did post it at the last one. We only top-lined it, but we will be getting more specific. So you and John, or whomever you deem necessary, should participate in that process.
Perfect.
So this board is actively looking at land where it's available, and we know that's difficult.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Next one on my list here is just a routine maintenance for what we do with the Aquatic Invasive Species Program. So I've got a $10,000 request for FY18.
Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I read that one.
Okay. So one of the things I just wanted to say is, we did 2 areas this past year. We did almost a full-scale treatment of Lake Wildwood. The 40 acres we have there, we treated a little over 30 acres of water with the treatment, and very successful in that. There was a 2-step process over there. First one was in the middle of June, and then we treated it again toward the end of July. The second location we did was Pratt Pond. That was just a spot treatment. There's almost 40 acres there. We treated about 10 acres of area. We did near the beach and where the boat ramp is. So just routine maintenance, so, okay? Okay. All right, the next one that I have, Kiwanis Beach Storage Shed, should be the next one on your list.
Part of the Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Still in Park and Rec?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a new request. We put in FY18. Working with the Parks, the Recreation Commission, and my staff, what we're proposing to do is build a new storage garage. The space that we have over there now in the Ramsey Building is just inadequate. And John can talk a little bit more about it as well. The way we store things in there, it's just not big enough. We end up putting things on top of things, and it's just a real hassle to get things, early in the morning or the end of the day or whatever. So what we're proposing to do is build a new storage shed halfway up in the hill, adjacent to the basketball court up there. So it's a $20,000 request. There's a future CIP, which I kind of alluded to it here, but working with Mr. Gazorian, there's a hope maybe to build a concession stand down there in the existing space that they've got. But that ties into some other things that we may be looking to do with that facility that has to do with the study.
Okay.
So, okay. Yep. No question?
Questions?
No?
Okay. All right, the next one on the list, again, a new request, but this is a badly needed funding request. This is for the Kiwanis Beach Athletic Field. We're looking to renovate the facility. I've got some photographs that I've taken here that I'd like to share with the board.
Now, would you be looking, you say it would be the field itself, John?
The infield and the dugouts.
Yeah.
Right. The retaining walls. So what we're looking to do here, as you can see by the photographs, the softball field, on the right field side, we've got that retaining wall. As you can see by the photographs there, the retaining wall is actually starting to bow inward, especially where the dugout is. The dugout, it's constructed with just some cinder blocks, and so if you look at that back wall where the dugout is, it's pushing right in to the point where the blocks are all cracked, and if left over time, that's eventually going to fail and collapse. So part of this renovation project is to reconstruct that retaining wall, construct new dugouts on either side, so we've got dugouts that match. The other thing, another photograph that I have there is the infield. Yep. So another part of this request is for renovation of the infield. You'll notice the infield is kind of sunk. So what we want to do is just renovate the infield and have it.
I'll ask the seasoned veterans here in the room, that'll be John and Selectman Fleming. How old is this?
Ramsey, well, that was
78?
78.
78, yeah.
78 is when this was constructed. So I think we've gotten our money's worth out of...
That was under a federal grant, too.
We've gotten our money's worth. All I would ask, and I would just maybe throw it out there to reach out when we do go to RFP on this, or however we look to bid this out, is to maybe reach out to the two school systems, to Blackstone Valley Tech, as well as Mendon Up School Systems, to see if there's any field renovation work, that capital work that they would like to do on their field, and maybe combine the projects. The more you can give a contractor, the best pricing you can get.
Absolutely.
So we can, if we can reach out that way when we're ready to do it and sit down and see if we can try to bundle something.
Sure, I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can any of this come from the recreations revolving?
It could come from CPA, perhaps. The Rec Revolving Fund really has to pay just for user programs.
Yeah, I didn't know if the field...
Parks Revolving, it depends on how much revenue comes in through rental of the fields. It generally pays for small repairs or small equipment purchases, but nothing that would rise to this level. I think CPA is probably our best bet.
It may be a reach, but it is aesthetics and maybe beautification trust. Might.
We'll find that
It's a
out.
reach,
We'll
but
determine
that would be nice if that were
But I
possible.
also want to commend, I mean, for the age of this property and for the use it gets, and it gets a lot of use. Our Parks and Rec Department does an outstanding job with maintaining this field.
I agree. One of the things I noticed when I first came here, I came from a town that had a lot of money. They put a lot of money in their parks. This facility that we have here in town, we're very blessed to have that. These guys do a terrific job there. As you know, we attract a lot of people from other towns that come in here to use the facility.
Pride and ownership.
Absolutely.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So it's great, absolutely great. So,
So-
thank you, sir.
Okay.
Moving on.
Good.
Let's focus on some of the priorities in assets and the building, rather than each page, the next section. Roads.
Roads? Well, I was going to talk about the bridges, because
Yep, and the bridge, but I
Right.
don't think we need to go through every one.
Okay.
Unless they have questions.
Sure. Okay. As the board's probably aware, we just submitted a grant, or we're in the process of submitting a grant application. As you know, the state has a program right now for the small bridge program. We just had an engineer come out here and assess our bridges. He's going to give me a report. He's the engineering firm that we've got under contract is going to help us submit the application, which has to be submitted by the end of the month. So what I've got proposed here for FY18 is $20,000. There's a mistake in the CIP that I have here, too. I don't.
Well, it includes, I think, Fisk Mill that we assume we're going to go forward
Correct.
with this
Right.
next month, and then 20,000 for the design
Correct. Yes.
work.
So $270,000 for this year for the Fisk Mill project, and then $20,000 is what we're looking for FY18. I don't know if you've got any questions on Fisk
Well,
Mill.
the 20 is for the two other bridges, not just one, correct?
Well, originally, and I just found this out just this past week, but when I did this CIP, it was originally just going to be for one. But with the grant application, and as I said, I just found this out, we're able to submit an application that includes all three bridges. So what we're looking to do is two bridges located on Fowler Road, and then it's really a culvert, but culverts are included under this grant program over on Mendon Street.
Yep.
So one of the bridges on Fowler Road and the one over on Mendon Street is just some guardrail work, nothing really beyond that. The second bridge on Fowler Road, though, however, needs a little bit more work. We're looking at the superstructure underneath, the I-beams. There's a lot of pitting on. I don't think any of it needs to be replaced, but it certainly needs to be some rehabilitation needs to happen.
But the big
So it's going to be a little bit more extensive.
You
than
said
what
you
we're
had an
gonna do.
engineering firm come out and assess all of our bridges?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll be getting.
The three we're talking about that I think are eligible.
Right.
Okay.
We have 11 bridges, but only 3 are eligible in this program.
Understood.
And Jim, this just happened too. He was out last Friday and he finished the assessment this past Monday. So I don't have the report yet. I'll have the report maybe by the end of the week, early next week. And so I'll be sure to sit with the town manager and go over the report and
That'd be great.
we'll forward it to you. Okay?
Yep, that'd be great.
We put this together before the program was finalized, and the goal is if we can't get money for the Fisk Mill Bridge by some means and we want to move forward with it, we'll try to get money for other bridges that we won't have to spend money on later.
Yes.
Right. If approved, the grant's up to $500,000. And that includes engineering and construction. It would work like Chapter 90. We would have to front the money, and we would be reimbursed.
Okay.
So, okay?
Good, thank you. What other highlight, Madam Town Manager, would you see that?
I think I would like to talk about roads and the tip easements in the assets section.
Okay.
Those are the two highest priorities.
If I'm not mistaken, our road rating is slightly increased based upon the work we've done, but we're still very deficient. We've got $100,000 at the upcoming town meeting in addition to the Chapter 90s. So I guess the real hard question is, what else is in there that you're looking for? That's the simple nuts and bolts of it.
So, as you know, based on what we get from Chapter 90, it doesn't go anywhere near what we need in order to maintain to increase our road surface rating. It's not even half of what we need. I think last year's appropriation was awesome compared to what we've ever got in the past, and we've certainly made a big dent, because, as you know, we were going backwards. So based on what we had from the state and the town's appropriation, we're actually able to pretty much stay even, which is not bad.
But what would be the ask for?
So I'm looking, okay, so the additional funding that I'm looking for, on top of Chapter 90, would be $532,000.
5:30?
532?
$532,000. Last year's appropriation was $350.
So that's, yep, so that would tie, and that would put you, based upon this 800 some odd thousand
Correct.
invest in the roads.
And that would put us,
Would raise the bar slightly in our management report.
Right.
So our roads might kick up a couple more points. We're going forward instead of backwards.
correct.
Okay.
We need to break that 70 milestone.
So we've got a goal here with the funding request that I'm looking for, supplemented with the Chapter 90 money. We've got a target of reaching 75 RSR,
Okay.
road surface rating, within 15-year period. We're really going to make a lot of headway in a couple of years after we do this, after we do the TIP project.
Yeah, that's going to.
It's going to be 3 miles that we're not going to spend a nickel on, other than what we've already invested.
May I make this statement too? I've had a lot of people ask about the TIP project. For the record, now that the state's assumed it, am I correct that DOT is in total control of the project at this point?
Yes.
The town of Upton is guidance, but they make all the decisions?
Correct.
They schedule it, they do all, so if anybody asks, it's under DOT. The town spent $600,000 for the study, what, 5 years ago? And now we're getting an $11 million infrastructure upgrade, but DOT controls it. Fair to
Correct.
say? Okay, so, because people are confused by that. They think the town is, why is the town doing this? When you get $11 million, you've relinquished the authority to the Commonwealth.
Right.
But again, I can't commend the town, the taxpayers, and the voters who voted the initial $600,000, because I don't know about you, but I'll do it all day long to do it for a $600,000 investment to get a return on our investment of $11 million.
It's huge.
I'll do that all day long.
Yeah, it's not just the improvement of the road surface either. We're going to be fixing the intersection over there at North Main Street. The sidewalk. The stormwater improvements is huge. Yes.
Intersection repair. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a whole slew of
Especially in that
issues.
High Street section.
Absolutely.
And so that's going to be, so that, those 2 years of this project, as you know, it's a 2-phase project. We're really going to make some major headway with that payment management plan too. So,
The TIP project easements on the list goes hand in hand with that. That's the one last piece we have to pull together.
Correct. It's working with basically the abutters of the road to try to see. if
We have to do appraisals
Yeah.
on a couple of the properties where we need to have takings to true up intersections, little slices, and then we have to get rights of entry easements from almost everybody along that way. And the cost in here would be what we estimate will take to do the appraisals, and then if we need to buy any of the easements or pay people to let them us come on their property, perhaps some people would choose to donate those. We'll put that out there. You know, that would be great if we're just going on to put on a sidewalk, dress it up, and leave. That's a possibility. This is hopefully an outside number.
Questions, Gary?
No, sir.
Okay.
so I noticed the town manager kind of segued right into the tip. So I don't know.
was just there.
I don't know if you've got any questions for me with the tip.
No,
Oh, we're
just
happy.
can't wait for it.
Okay. Yeah, so there's no secrets that we're looking for additional funding for the tip in order to pay for the easements.
Probably
As
next
the town manager
May.
talked about.
Small potato.
Correct. Yes. Okay.
Building.
Okay, DPW facility.
Yeah, let's get rid of the tents.
Yeah, amen to that, I'll tell you. All right, so as you know, this number's changed a little bit from last year based on my conversation with a resident engineer. We're looking for design money for next year, $210,000 for the design. What we're looking to do with this facility, as you know, because we've got that temporary tent on the outside of the building, we just don't have enough space to store all our vehicles. And so what we're looking to do is add 4 new bays. But the other thing we're looking to do is, you know, we pay rent for the trailer there. We want to add an admin area with a good size area that we're able to roll out engineering plans and talk about projects such as the TIP project. And then the other thing that we want to do within this upgrade is do something, for, upgrade the facilities for the staff that work there. As you know, with the lockers that we have, they're out where the vehicles are. There's no place for anybody to take a shower or change their clothes or anything like that. And as you know, when we have a snowstorm, blizzard, whatever, you name it, a hurricane blow through here, these guys are working around the clock. So what we're looking to do is make the facility a little bit more accommodating for the staff.
Yeah, no, I am absolutely, again, I just speak for myself, I'm absolutely for this project. I mean, 2 years ago, during the winter, I think you probably lived more down there than you did at your own home.
Correct.
And we thank you for that, because you made our roads safe and passable. But again, it's, the facilities down there comes nowhere near protecting the investment that the taxpayers and that the town is making on the equipment that we put down there, and that's a shame.
Right.
So we need to do this, for the staff, to provide them a good work environment, as well as protecting the investment that we make, in this town of the equipment. So I totally commend and will strongly support moving forward on this project.
On board.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. All right, next one, I'd like to talk a little bit about the salt shed, if you've got no more questions on the facility. All right, so the salt shed, you'll see the numbers change from what we submitted last year, again, based on my conversation with people that work in the field, some of my colleagues out there. So what we'll, one of the things that I've mentioned here that wasn't mentioned in the past CIP was the fact that bottom line is we're just not compliant with the state on how we store our de-icing material. We've got the salt shed, and so that's fine, it's undercover. But the salt sand mix, that should be undercover as well. You guys are all aware of the stormwater regulations. We're also in Zone 2 drinking water regulations, so that's why that stuff needs to be undercover. And so what we're looking to do, we want to keep that existing facility, the storage shed that we have, and that would be for salt sand mix, and construct a new salt shed, a little bit bigger than what we've got there right now. We're looking to store, and this is based on what we've used, I've looked at what we used for on our worst winter was about 2,500 ton. So we're looking to build a facility that could store that much salt. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, and again, never mind the stormwater management that we can do, but this is still, again, protecting the investment. The salt, the hot mix with respect to the sand salt is not cheap. And, putting it undercover, protecting our investment. And that's what we need to do. So, no, absolutely commend and applaud.
Okay. And as you can see, this request is for 2020.
Yep.
We just pushed it out to an out year, but I mean, depending on what debt structures look like, we could look at doing it at the same time, we could look at doing it later. I mean,
Maybe do it in conjunction with.
yes, I think those are all options to consider.
The overall project. Maybe.
We have some fair amount of debt coming off next year, so, and 2 years after that, so it might be good timing in terms of not having a tax rate increase, but still getting a project done.
And lastly, I see a couple items under rolling stock. I mean, any questions, comments that the board has on that?
And plus, we've got the warrant coming up, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. That was, okay.
great, thank you.
You guys good?
Thank you.
Good.
Well, that means we read it beforehand. That's basically what we're saying.
It's great when we have all the information and we can ask questions, read it at a
And
time.
I've got a lot more of it, but I don't know.
Selectman Fleming wanted to bring the bear ball, put you under the bear ball tonight, but I said no.
What do you guys want to do with what do you guys want to do with the enterprises?
We'll talk in another meeting with respect to water sewer.
Perfect.
We'll schedule
Yeah,
another one.
that in itself is the topic.
It's a conversation in itself.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Gentlemen,
Always a
thank you.
pleasure.
John, thank you.
And you still.
I'm going to hang around for
Thank you for a great job, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, too. I get a toot and a wave every time I go by the school, so that's good.
I was going to say, I've got some photographs of the parking lot as well, but you can see it, so. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we've already done recognition, so under 5.0, Town Manager's Report. Madam Town Manager.
A couple things to point out. I maybe should have brought this up on the recognition, but I want to make sure that we recognize Tracy Tardy. She's gone through all of the courses to become a certified assessor. She started out as a clerk, but she's way more than that today. And it's really, I think, a boon for the town to have somebody who's fully qualified, as well as the board themselves, who also have to be qualified in their own right, taking care of our assessing duties. So congratulations to her. She deserves a round of applause for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tracy.
Yep. If you're around and about tomorrow, I'll give a plug for the health fair that the COA is putting on. It's not just for seniors, it's for everybody. There's all sorts of vendors who are going to be filling up the main hall. It should be a good day, so come on down. I'm sure there's freebies and things to learn, and it's always a good time. So that kicks off around 10 o'clock tomorrow, so please come down if you can. As Vinnie mentioned, we are seeking out 2 different grants, one for these various bridges. If we can get some money in for bridges another way than the one we've got to do, that would be great. We also applied for an infrastructure and planning grant for water to continue working on our GIS work for $40,000. So we're hoping to get both of those. The Grove Street parking lot's coming along very well. The stormwater facilities are in. It looks like the parking lot's fairly well graded, so I think paving is coming maybe this week or early beginning of next, but it's almost done, and we're excited about that. The guys have been working very hard on that. And then just a question, I think you may have seen the email, the town hall is being honored with an award for its accessibility for folks with handicap by the state at a celebration on November 8th. They're asking if anyone wants to go from the town, if any of you would. I'm going to try and go. Obviously, Kelly can't because it's election day, but if any one of you would like to represent the town, let me know so I can RSVP for you.
Okay, thank you.
So that's my report.
Thanks.
Any questions, comments?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under discussion items, under 6.1, as I'm sure most people are aware, on November 8th, 2016, we have the election coming up, so it is our job to execute the presidential primary warrant. So, any discussions, comments?
No, sir.
So I make a motion?
Just sign it, right?
So we don't need to make a motion? We
Nope, just sign it. Just can't leave the meeting till you sign.
Okay, so we will sign, okay,
At the
so
end.
we will sign it, we'll sign it following the meeting. Thank you. Okay, item 6.2. At the last meeting, we had town manager with the DPW director brought forward a draft policy with respect to water shutoff policy. At that time, I think we voiced our opinion that, we hope that this policy would never have to come into place, but unfortunately, there are some individuals that we're struggling with respect to changing out their meters. I don't know if that has changed at all, and that's sad to hear. That has not changed at all, and there are some individuals. So are we ready to discuss this tonight, or do we want a little bit more time with that, or?
I'm ready.
Okay, I would just make a couple of comments. Do you have comments to make, or?
No, I'm satisfied that the appeal process is okay. 15 days, I might want it a little longer, but certainly this has all the caveats to protect any citizen, whether it be a medical issue or a financial issue. They have an appeal process through the way. It seems very clear that the real intent of this is to get the person that A, doesn't allow access to change the meter, and B, is delinquent in their bills and has the ability to pay. So we always get the monies and the end result in a lien on the property, but that could go a very long time, and we're about the cash flow, and we need the cash flow to make the department run well. So I went through this. It's been modified a little since the first few drafts, but I'm satisfied with it. It seems to cover what I'd want.
And my only question would be, is there any concern if we shut them off and there's like a liability if there's damage done to somebody's plumbing or anything?
Vinnie, can you answer that?
Pipes or anything?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Like liability to like damage of like a hot water heater or something that we shut the water off to, or frozen pipes that they don't blow out properly?
I don't want to say no. Anything's possible. But I know we're gonna do everything, within our power to to not do this. The last thing that we want to do is shut anybody's water off. And we want to help anybody, for whatever reason, help them. I can't help anybody financially, but certainly changing the meter would be an easy thing for us to do. But I can't say, no, there's no liability. You just,
Again, I would just...
That's my only concern.
I mean, I think they could certainly, if there was damage, they could appeal to our insurance provider. If we caused damage, that would cover it, perhaps.
I understand the purpose and the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
And I think with the notification, between the certified letters that we plan on sending out, the hang tags, the short of putting an orange cone in their front yard, we're going to try to work with them and notify them as much as we can on this. And again, it truly hopes that this does not come up. I just got a couple of issues. I was entertaining the thought on the first page, on page 1, under implementation procedure under 1, changing the length at least 90 days. I was thinking about possibly changing that to 120 days, but that, again, will be up for discussion. The other items under hardship, we discussed with respect to medical emergencies and hardship, if we could somehow put in here that we communicate with the Council on Aging, just to confirm that there is no hardship within the premise that we don't know about before we do that. That would be my suggestion. Then winter months are always difficult, to Selectman Doherty's point, we don't want to, so with respect to winter months, we may want to, be aware of frozen pipes, heat, and so on and so forth with that. And lastly, if we could just add in here that the Board of Selectmen will be notified a minimum of 7 days before termination. Again, that's not because, they need our approval to implement this policy. It's that when this board hears it on the street, that, did you hear that such and such, that somebody's water got turned off, we can say, yes, we did, and we were fully aware of that, we're fully apprised of that. So if we could just say the Board of Selectmen will be notified a minimum 7 days before the actual termination. And that would be my only suggestions. Are there any discussion, comments with respect to any of the comments, any of the suggestions?
Mr. Chairman, I see it as a friendly amendment to the policy. I have no problem. It makes sense to me.
Okay, so if we're all set, I would entertain a motion with the friendly amendments.
Gary, you're all set?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the board adopt the water shut-off policy with the following amendments to the draft before us this evening, that under 11, it's be stated that the Council on Aging be notified. Under criteria 1, that be changed from 90 days to 120 days, and that there also be an addition that the Board of Selectmen be notified 7 days before termination of the water supply being shut off, or termination of the water supply.
I second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Please show us unanimous action of the board. Thank you, DPW Director and Madam Town Manager, for putting this together. And again,
Thank you.
We hope we never have to use this. Please work with us. Please work with us, work with the Town Manager, work with the DPW Director and the department to change out the meters. And, we're only trying to do things in your best interest and the town's best interest. So please work with us. We hope we never have to implement this policy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, under 6.3, sign requests. In front of us, we have, under 6.3.1, we have a sign request for a 30-mile-an-hour sign on Prospect Street. The DPW Director, again, you see his comment of not recommending it, and with his explanation with respect to, he would like to see a traffic study done first, and then the police chief with his recommendation of approved under Chapter 90, Section 17. We'll open up to the board for discussions.
To the DPW Director, the first question I'd ask is, what's the cost of the traffic study, and what's the timeline to get it completed? That's 2 questions.
Well, first off, I researched this on a Mass DOT site, what are the requirements on changing the speed limit? And so that's what they stated, it's a requirement from Mass DOT.
I think that's something that comes from the police department. I think we have to ask the chief that question, because I think he's the one that has to follow through on
I'm just
that.
wondering what the cost and the timeline is. If it costs the town X dollars and it takes 6 months, that becomes an issue.
I can't answer that.
And I understand where you're going. We could go crazy putting up signs every 500 feet on every roadway based upon citizens' requests. I mean, I get that, but we have to be selective and at least monitor it. So
If you want to table it, I'll get that answer for you, and we
I
can
would
take it up at the
favor
next
that,
meeting.
Mr. Chairman. Any,
I have no problem with that.
That's, that's good.
please, thank you.
No problem with that. So we'll table,
Good answer.
we'll table item 6.3.1 with respect to the sign on Prospect Street with the understanding that we'll see what the cost would be for an engineering, for a traffic study and the timeframe with respect to that. Okay, we also have, count 3 sign requests for Cider Mill Lane. First one that I will act on is the 10-mile-an-hour speed limit request that they have put on that. And again, the DPW director, again, comments not recommended, comments the same as with respect to traffic study, and police chief recommended but as noted. So I can't open up to the
Defer
board.
that one as well?
And we'll defer this one? Okay.
And
Yeah.
want to do the other one too?
And
That
so
also-
we'll also defer the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit until we get the quote on with respect to the information on the traffic study.
I think it's interesting to point out that the chief on the second one suggested that if there's a 10-mile-an-hour, if the board decides that, there'd be advisory, that I don't think 10 miles an hour is probably a reasonable speed there, but it might be better if people went slower. And I don't think it's enforceable is what he's trying to say.
Right. Understand. And then lastly, we have another request on Cider Mill for a dangerous curves in the road under review from the DPW as well as the police chief. Both of them do not recommend this request. So again, I will open up the board for discussion.
Chairman, I will always support the DPW Director and Chief of Police. They have more knowledge to this than I do, so I will support their decision not to recommend.
I'll second it.
Was that a motion?
I will motion, if you ask for a motion, I will motion not to recommend the request for the
Dangerous curves?
dangerous curve sign. Thank you.
Second.
And please show that unanimous action of the board. Thank you. Okay, that handles our issues with respect to, and then we'll have the, at an upcoming, I will open up at the end of the meeting for public comments. So we will have in front of us at an upcoming meeting, traffic study information with respect to the request. Okay, item 6.4. On November 15th, 2016, we have a special town meeting that will be held at Nipmuc High School at 7 o'clock. In front of us, and again, we've had this many times. We have the draft special town meeting warrant. Madam Town Manager, any changes to the warrant?
A couple minor ones. I did increase the amount of Article 2 by $5,000 just to be careful with having an appropriate amount for town council expense, given some of the activity we've had going on this year. I did take out the article for the reserve fund. The Finance Committee didn't believe that they needed to add to it. They felt comfortable with the balance in there for the rest of the year, so that's been removed. And all of the articles have been reviewed by town council. There's been some minor edits made there, and all the 3 petition articles are in here. I will be speaking with the town accountant the end of this week. He's working on the recap sheet. As you know, that's an important process to determine what our tax rate will be with what we've spent and what we may be spending here. And it was a priority of the board to mitigate a tax rate increase with some of the free cash that we left roll over. So I would ask your indulgence on 2 things. One, are there any articles that you want to talk about tonight or change in any way or take off the warrant? That would be helpful to know. And then to have a meeting, a short meeting sometime next week when we will have been able to run all those numbers and tell you what of these things we really can afford. We may have to take some things off, and what we need to do to get that tax rate to where you'd like it to be.
Okay. Okay, first question is, do any of the fellow members have any objection to any of the articles or any question on any of the articles?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my only concern is, obviously, Article number 1 is the primary article, so based upon how that number comes out, some of the capital items may be deferred, and we won't know that till we have that number. So I am in favor of meeting sometime next week, even if it be for 1 hour, just to get this stabilized and signed effectively. Just for the record, so everybody understands, Article 1 is we are taking free cash to apply to our budget so that there will be no tax increase of the rate this year. We can't affect the assessment, but if the rate is X, it's going to stay X for next year, should this article pass. We made that commitment last spring with the Finance Committee, and it is our intent to so-called level fund the tax requirement. So that's a priority, and that's what I was referring to when I said Article 1.
Can I add one thing to what you said? In speaking with town council, I talked with her about the placement of this article. That was, and you had wanted to put it first. The one thing that she pointed out that we might want to consider is that if for some reason some of the other articles change, voters don't want to vote as much that we have proposed for a particular thing, or if we find some new information, we can lower something, changing those might change what we could do with this article, and so if you don't want to have to reconsider it, putting it at the end might be beneficial. However, she certainly understood how important this was, and having it first, sends a message. So I just want to give you that advice. Whether you change it or not is up to you.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's hard to decide that until we know what that number is.
Okay.
Yeah, let's discuss it at the next week's meeting if we can. All right, so Selectman Dory, do you have any issues with any of the articles?
Not right now, like, once we get that final number, then my opinion on some of these other things.
Do we have a day next week? I don't know what next Tuesday,
It's the 25th.
next Tuesday brings, if we meet next Tuesday? Yeah, so,
I'm not able to meet in the evening, but certainly during the day is...
I could do the day, it would be preferable in the morning.
okay. Next Tuesday morning?
Morning's bad, but I might be able to find a babysitter.
How about, no, I mean...
Wednesday,
how about
Thursday morning?
Wednesday?
I could do Wednesday in the morning.
Well, Finance Committee is meeting Wednesday, right? It's supposed to be Wednesday, so.
Could meet when, I don't have my calendar, but I don't know what happened on
Do
Wednesday.
you want to meet with them Wednesday
26th.
night?
Want to meet Wednesday evening?
I can't, I have an obligation.
Right, okay. Can you meet Wednesday?
No, I'm working Wednesday.
How about Monday?
Monday I can meet.
Monday, yeah.
Monday evening?
Anytime.
On Monday.
Monday evening?
Monday?
Monday evening? I mean, we want
We've got the OPEB meeting at 7.
okay, so can we say 6 Monday?
6? Monday.
6 o'clock Monday? 6 o'clock Monday it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Huh? Okay. So 6 o'clock Monday, we'll be posting a meeting to sign the warrant with respect to this. So, any other discussions on the town meeting warrant? Okay. Seeing none. Item 6.5, at the last meeting, the town manager handed out to us health plan options and things to think about. I can say that I honestly have not really read it yet and digested it yet, but I think it's crucial, again, to speak with the town manager, it's crucial that we do read it, digest it, and understand it, and decide what, if any, maybe we don't want to make any changes, but healthcare is one of those moving targets that we know costs are only going to go up, so we need to do our best to try to manage it accordingly and get creative as best we can. So I don't know if we want to discuss it this evening, but I would urge my board members to please read it, and in the next upcoming, especially with budget season, in the next upcoming meetings, I'd like to have some discussion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I've already gone through it. I'm comfortable at this time. If you'd rather defer until another meeting, I'm okay with that. Allow the other members.
I prefer to defer.
I prefer to defer, so.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you for that. Okay, under 6.6, under appointments, under 6.6.1, we have a resignation. We have a resignation of an individual on the opioid task force that's in front of us, so, in her name, Betsy Sadler. So I would ask the board for if there's any discussions. If not, I would make motion to accept.
Mr. Chairman, I would accept with regret the resignation of Betsy Sadler from the opioid task force committee.
Second motion.
And please show the unanimous action of the board, and thank you, Betsy. I had the pleasure of serving with you and attending a couple meetings with you, and you are a pleasure to be with, so and I thank you for your commitment and past commitment on that, so thank you. We also have a, what else do we have? Oh, we have another opioid task force, or the opioid, OPEB trust, I'm sorry, the OPEB trust. We have another letter.
Does she want to apply for the opiate task force?
Yeah, she will. We're going to do that under 6.6.2. So we have another resignation from Nicholas Ensko, who did serve on the OPEB, but now has accepted a position on the Finance Committee. So because he's graciously accepted a position on the Finance Committee, he can no longer be a member of the OPEB, the other post-employee benefit committee trust. So we have his resignation in front of us. So if there's no discussion, then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would motion that we accept with regret the resignation of Nicholas Ensko from the OPEB Trust Commissioners Trust Committee.
Second motion.
And please show that unanimous action of the board. And again, I thank Nicholas for his stepping up to be on the Finance Committee. And under 6.6.2, we have an individual, Kristen Gothia, who would like to be a member of the Upton Opioid Task Force. She is a school nurse currently at the Nipmuc High School, as well as facilitator. So I think she would be a good asset to that committee. So if there's is there any comments or questions or concerns with that? If none, I will entertain a motion.
Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I would motion that we appoint Kristen Gothia to the Opiate Task Force Committee, effective to a term to expire May of 2017.
Second motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board. And Kristen, again, I thank you for stepping forward on this unfortunate but very important task force. So that's all we have for resignations and appointments. On 6.7, motion to approve, we have a request for trust funds in the amount of $300 for a cleaning of a monument at Maplewood Cemetery. So I would open it up to the board for any discussion.
The only question I would ask, Mr. Chairman, are we within the bounds of the Beautification Trust, or would this have to be the William Knowlton Trust?
I think it falls under the Ella Rustine Trust.
Okay, I would be prepared to motion for this amount, absolutely.
Yes. Yes, please.
To be on the safe side, I would motion that they up to $350 to the Maplewood Cemetery trustees for the purpose of reconditioning the Whitney Rustine monuments and markers.
Second motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board. And again, if the funds aren't worthy of this, then I mean, the individual who bequeathed the funds to us initially, so again, thank you for your motion. Please show that unanimous action of the board. Okay, before I open it up to the general public, under new business, we did already pick a date for next week. Madam Chair, we have a potential request or a need to have a dog hearing.
Unfortunately, we do. We have a dog that resides on Glenview Street that has bitten 2 people over the last year, and our efforts through the animal control officer to have that owner resolve the issue with the dog have not been satisfactory. So I'm asking the board if we could schedule that public hearing for the next meeting in November 1st to hear the testimony of the owner, the animal control officer, and perhaps the 2 people that were unfortunately bitten, to have the board make a decision on what needs to happen with that dog.
Mr. Chairman, having read the background on it that I have to date, I am prepared to make motion for that.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would motion that the board schedule a public hearing on November 1st for the purpose of determining whether the dog owned or kept on
98 Glenview Street.
98 Glenview Street in the town of Upton is a nuisance dog, a dangerous dog, as those terms are defined in the Massachusetts general laws.
Second.
We show that as unanimous action of the board, and just as a personal side note, I was unfortunate opportunity to be a member on a past dog hearing license, and it was not, I'm not truly looking forward to this. This is unfortunate, and it's, but needed, so. Okay, so, under departmental report correspondences, so at this time, before we go into executive session, I would open it up to anybody in the audience who'd like to say something. Ma'am? If you'd like to just step forward and just come up and identify yourself, please.
Okay, right up here.
Yes.
Lynn Haggerty, 10 Cider Mill Lane, and I brought forth the petitions for the sign requests.
Which we actually have the signatures.
We do have, you have the signatures and all that. I'd just like to bring your attention to, on the site plan approval decision, the detailed record, in here under the conditions, it states that the Public Works will provide, or the Department of Public Works, additional traffic control signals for Cider Mill Lane. So I just wanted to add that in for your consideration about the speed limit signs. Okay. If you would, please. I've discussed with Chief Bradley about the no curves sign. We can do away with that because if we have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, if that were approved, that would help. Just, in that endeavor. So that's what I'd like to mention to you. Thank you.
And you can understand our rationale with respect to the engineering study. I mean, it just helps us to get all the facts with respect to, what we need to do.
I understand that there's going to be some research done about the 20 miles an hour.
Yep, traffic study.
That you're going to do a traffic study?
A traffic study on that, on that with respect to setting the speed limit.
Okay.
Yep, that's what we're hoping to do.
If I may add,
Yes, it is.
under Mass General laws, they're not enforceable if they're
Right, I know it's not.
So you're putting up a sign that's not enforceable in court, so we'll do it the right way.
Yeah, I just, with all the additional traffic.
Yep, understandable. Thank you, Lynn, very much. Okay, any other comment? Sir, gentleman in the back with the yellow shirt. You can step forward, please.
I can Tuesday morning if you guys prefer Tuesday morning. I forgot she goes to... Monday night's good. She goes to preschool.
I just have a question regarding going forward with what we're going to do about the tax rate. We talked before, downstairs,
Could you identify yourself, Bob? I don't know if you did
Paul
already.
Flaherty, 29 Taft Street. Been on the Finance Committee longer than I care to remember.
Thank you, Paul.
What are we looking for? Yes, that's a simple question. My understanding and my recollection from the last meetings we had was that we were looking, or the board at the time was looking for the tax bill. Not the tax rate, not the values. They're looking for the tax bill to be pretty close to what it was the last time. Is that what we're still looking at?
I have to correct that. You cannot effectively say the tax bill will be the same because assessments and valuations change. So if someone had a reevaluation of their property of $40,000 up, that's going to have a significant impact even if the tax rate stays the same. So you can't change the amount, but you can change...
But when the values go up, the tax rate goes down. So I guess, what are we looking for?
We are trying to keep the tax rate the same so that the property taxes will not go up.
Currently, where the tax rate, if I may, where the current tax rate is 18.25, that it will stay at 18.
25.
So
You can't, how are we going to guarantee people's bills?
We're not. No, I'm just saying, it's a moving target.
The best we can do is take an average, the average house, a house at this price point, a house at that price point.
So if the tax rate remains the same and the value increases,
You get hit,
tax bill goes up.
yes.
And
But
all values, from what I understand, most of the values have gone up.
we can't control that. How would you set a number to affect the difference of valuation?
I guess it's, I'm not,
Let me finish. If somebody's goes up, there's also somebody that's going down. So how do you
That's
assess,
true, but
how do you
as-
assess a differential? You can't,
I guess I'm just trying to
You can't-
get a position from what we talked about last year. And
What-
my recollection was, maybe I'm wrong, is that we wanted the tax bills to be pretty close to where they were. And at that point, I said last year, it's kind of hard to do.
well,
So-
I think you're interpreting because it would be impossible to guarantee that people's tax bills would stay the same because
Basically, you're saying, you're preaching to the choir, because that's basically what I was trying to say last year, last spring.
So we could talk about this all night. Let's make this
Right.
real simple. We can only do what we can do to try and keep the tax rate level for all the citizens. In other words, you paid this year, you're going to pay as close as we can get you to that.
And it's the rate
next
per
year.
1,000 that
And
we're
it's the
talking
rate
about.
So if your property went up, we can't really control that. If we went down, we can't control that.
All right.
But all we can do, the other example would be, Paul, if it was 1825 and next year we spent money and it went to 1925, everybody would see a lift.
I guess what the question goes back to what I had asked before. When I asked
You're dealing with
last spring, saying, do we want to keep the tax rate the same, the tax bill the same? Which is,
The answer is the rate.
You never heard me say the tax bill will be the same. I could never make that statement. I did
Well,
say
there
the
was-
tax rate keep the same.
well, there was some
I think
discussion around that.
in all fairness,
that point.
we always said we can't control, I think with every statement, we said we can't control assessments. And
That's correct.
I understand that.
we've always
But-
said that. So with that said, with that comment, it would be foolish for us to say we guarantee your tax bill will
When the
be the
value
same.
goes up, the tax rate goes down. And when you do this, you're not talking about one particular value, you're talking about the total valuation of the town.
Let me put it this way, Paul. I'll make it as simple as I can. If we
Sometimes
take
that doesn't
free
work.
cash and we apply it so the tax rate is less than it would have been if we didn't apply the free cash, the citizens of the town are getting a break on their taxes.
So that, to that extent, you're right.
Yes, that's the only way you can answer that question. So we are taking money, free cash, to apply to the town spend so that we are appropriating less money technically, and their tax burden is going to be less.
That is correct.
Thank you. Semantics.
But then going forward, we have this business.
And you
of
said if
excess
we go
capacity.
forward next year, we lose the 2.5.
These are going to be great conversations.
No, we don't lose the 2.5. You never lose the 2.5.
These are conversations that we will have with the finance committee during the budget process.
Paul, your semantics were well taken. Thank you.
Paul, thank you. Okay. So, any other comments? Seeing none, hearing none. The board will enter an executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A1, to discuss the reputation and complaints against public officers and employees. We will adjourn out of the executive session for the purposes of going into open session only for the purpose of adjournment. Jim Brochu, aye.
Robert Fleming, aye.
Gary Dardy, aye.
We are in executive session. Thank you all very much.